From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to Beat the Champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Grand Island for another edition of Beat the Champ. We are hanging out with #1 Beat the Champ fan, Jeff, and Jeff's excited, and we're excited because we have seen some great bowling, and we got some great bowling coming up for you today. Rocket Rob Piccoli's won 4 in a row, so he's averaged 240 in the 4 wins.
I know, and you know, Jeff is a big fan, and he knows all the bowlers by name.
Oh, yeah.
So we're giving him a treat with having, you know, Chuck. I'm sure he knows Chuck from watching him all the time, and that's going to be the first match, and you know how good that match is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be great. That's our first match of the day. We had all the bowlers sign this bowling pin for Jeff so he can remember his experience here. Jeff's fired up. We're fired up. It's going to be a fun edition of Beat the Champ, so let's get rolling. Well, this should be fun. I almost want to not talk, Sue, and just sit back and watch Chuck Jagazinski and Rob Piccoli go at it in this match, because you might not find 2 better or hotter bowlers in all of Western New York, and we get the pleasure of watching them on TV.
Well, you know, Chuck's pretty good at doing our job for us anyway.
That is true. That is true.
We probably could get away with it.
A combined 49 appearances on Beat the Champ between these two guys. That's
wow.
Chuck Jagazinski making his 32nd appearance, 35 wins and 18 losses. Rob Piccoli now on his 17th show.
So you said we've had 150.
This is our 150th competition show.
And these guys combined for 49 shows.
That's pretty good, huh?
That's a lot.
So yeah, and thanks to everybody who's allowed this to happen. Not only the incredible crew that we have here at WBBZ, but none of that would be possible without the support of the Western New York bowling fans and sports fans, because they're not all bowling fans. They're just fans of Western New York, and a show that goes back a long time in everybody's memory. We're on our 4th year and 150 competition shows, almost 200 total shows as well.
It feels like yesterday we did that first show at Rapids.
Yep. When I was asking you to point me in the right direction of the lanes.
And only now that you've got me talking, I can't shut up. Remember those days when I wouldn't say anything?
You and me both. We don't want to shut up talking about Rob Piccoli, because look, he keeps it going. Strikes in the first 2 frames, coming in on a 4-match winning streak where he's averaged 240, and that included a 202.
He was even surprised when I told him he shot 769 for his 3 games, because you are just trying to win your match. You're really not thinking about total pins, but very impressive. But
meanwhile, speaking of impressive, there's Chuck Jagazinski. Strikes in the first 2 frames. Again, 35 wins against only 18 losses. He's 1 win shy of Mike Zarcone's mark of 36 wins. Chuck has been on the 2nd most wins, the 2nd most shows to Mike Zarcone. And again, you can't tell that story of the first 150 competitions without telling a good part of it tied to Chuck and Mike and their battle to be the best.
Absolutely. And what's interesting about this match right here that we haven't seen yet all day is that these two are very comfortable in the same spot on the lane. So that's their A game, and they're both there. And that could play havoc with the shot, because now you've got double the play in that area. So whoever overcomes that better, and you know, we've got no lack of experience here as far as moving goes.
Right. 3 frames, 3 strikes for both guys. It would seem fitting if this thing, if we had a double, you know what, between these 2 guys, and had to have a roll off.
I'm glad you put it that way.
And had to have a roll off, right? Rob Piccoli, while not the sort of depth of length of experience of Chuck Jagazinski on our show, nobody's been better, and literally almost no one's been better in the year of 2019 than Rob Piccoli, who is pushing Chuck Jagazinski for the most wins in the calendar year as well, too. And like we said, Rob is on an incredible run right now where he is just locked in.
Wow. So I would have thought right there that that shot was a little bit inside of his target. But that's where he's picking out bowling balls to do what he needs them to do. And that ball just stopped in front of the pins. It was perfect.
Oh, ring around the 10, and it won't go down for Chuck. So that's our first non-strike of this match, and it comes from our 52-year-old from Lancaster, employed in the corrections department from New York State, Chuck Jagazinski. Here's the famous boxing glove spare ball from Chuck Jagazinski, and we get the spare in the 4th frame.
And we know Chuck wastes no time.
That is true. Do not blink. You'll miss 3 frames.
He is playing that. He is playing that lip. He is right on the gutter. So actually, Rob is inside of Chuck. Chuck is way to the right. He's like right on the gutter.
Yeah, there's not much time to sit down. There's barely any time for Janelle to update the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. No time for Rob to catch much of his breath.
Well, that's where Rob has to make sure when he gets up there, he takes his time and doesn't get caught up in that. Because it's easy to have that speed become natural.
And he got the 7 to fall, but he did not get the 4. So
I think he'll take the 9 count on that.
yes, I think he will. So Chuck and Rob both have won 14 times in 2019. So the winner of this match becomes our most successful bowler this year.
Which is kind of crazy after all the talk of, the competition between Mike and Chuck overall. But then here's Rob just sneaking up behind us every single month. And
well, we mentioned this is 4th month in a row on the show, and that may be one of the more incredible statistics I can throw at you. I don't think either Mike or Chuck have done that, and that's an incredible testament to just persistence and always being good enough to be on the show. Whoa. And not enough pin action to take down the 7. So Rob will look for back-to-back spares here. 34 years old from Kenmore, produce manager for Tops Markets, the Tops Friendly Markets right across the street from here at Island Lanes on Grand Island. Spares and 5 and 6 for Rob. This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV. Chuck's got his wife, Michelle, and his son, Noah, as always, cheering him on here. His buddies, Fran Bax and Dave Oliveri, are here cheering him on as well, too.
all right, this match is
6.
tied. We're tied up in the 5th when Chuck can start taking off on his own if he keeps striking here.
We last saw Chuck at Manor 2 Lanes in August, where he won 1 and lost 1. And again, as good as Chuck is, he's not on a streak of 4 months in a row like Rob is. There's another one. Now, how much does a match like this between 2 great bowlers, 2 hot bowlers, how much does it push each other? Is Chuck rising to the occasion of knowing?
Exactly what I was going to say. When it's like anybody else, you play up or down your competition, and if you can't get up and focus every single frame and make your best shot, then you're not a competitor, because this is what it pushes you to do, which is why we saw the start that we had to this match. Excellent.
There's a 7-frame strike for Rob Piccoli. How much did you like these kinds of matches when you were going up against someone that you felt like may be the best or one of the best you've ever faced?
I think that that's all preparation. And when I was, in the peak of my game and I was bowling all the time and prepared for every match, you love these matches. So you get a little nervous when you yourself know you're not prepared properly. And we know these 2 are totally prepared. Look at that. That was beautiful. He walked away from that one. It was so good.
Yep. Kind of a walk-off.
That was a walk-off, yep.
That was walk. Now, some people may think that it could be a little intimidating as a competitor going against another great bowler, but it sounds like what you're saying is you were more than happy to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, and because you naturally bowl better.
Oh, big fist bump from Chuck Jagazinski.
But that's the mental part of the game right there. When your opponent carries something like that, you have to. If you can't handle it, you better be keeping your eyes down and not looking up, because that stuff can be very challenging mentally.
4 in a row now for Chuck, who started with 3 in a row, then spared in the 4th. Make it 5 in a row. It might take a 260 or a 270 to win this match.
Well, there's 11 pins between the two of them. Rob's down 11 if he strikes here, and I don't think he's missed the pocket.
No, he's got the 2 spares in 5 and 6.
Oh, he came up a little high in the 5th.
But you know, there was nothing wrong with those shots. They just weren't strikes.
No, and they both actually came a little high up on the same lane, because Chuck went a little high and broke up that split on lane 8. So they both actually had the same ball reaction on the same lane, only Chuck carried it and Rob didn't, and that could end up being the deciding factor in this match.
All right, so Rob goes to the 10th frame, needing to pile up as many points as he can and hoping maybe for a stumble from Chuck Jagazinski.
He needs to strike out to make Chuck strike out.
It doesn't look like he's in any position to stumble. This match has been everything we expected it would be, between two of the best in town. And that ring 10 might be the downfall for Rob Piccoli.
I'll be curious.
What you can do about that?
I'll be curious how that shot felt off his hand, because I watched it on the screen and it looked good. But sometimes as bowlers, we know we don't catch it enough.
So a fill ball for Rob to finish out and post up a final score here, but it's not looking good at the moment.
Well,
and I say that based on how Chuck is bowling and has run 5 strikes in a row. He'll want everything he can get here, and that'll be 9. So 246 is the score for Rob Piccoli, but it might not be enough. It's above his average, by the way, of the last 4 matches, but it may not be enough.
If he gets 9 pins here, he cannot lose. If he strikes, he wins, but he doesn't need to spare as long as he gets 9.
And he'll get 9.
And he'll get 9.
So that 9 is going to give Chuck Jagazinski a victory.
All right, wait a minute. Let me do the math on this. 246.
Well, assuming he doesn't miss this one.
Right.
He doesn't.
It could have, if he would have missed it, it would have been a tie. He couldn't lose, but he also, but he needed to make that to seal the win.
These two behemoths of Buffalo bowling, Rob Piccoli and Chuck Jagazinski, give us everything that we expected. One of the best matches we've seen. A couple weeks ago, you had a chance to see a best of match. I think we're going to lock this one in for a future best of match, and a shake of the hands between two great competitors, and a great match that goes to Chuck Jagazinski, 257 to 246. We'll talk to Rob about this incredible run he's on and get you ready for another jagged edge match. Coming up from Grand Island, more Beat the Champ right after this. Well, we hope you enjoyed watching one of the best matches we have ever had on Beat the Champ. And I know that it didn't go your way despite a 246, Rob, but how did it feel to be involved in a great showdown like that?
That was probably one of the highlights that I've ever bowled in, because Chuck's a great opponent, and just strike after strike, blow after blow, and whoever gets the most wins. So.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. But beyond that, the 4-match winning streak, you really seem to be locked in. Sue pointed out you made the right adjustments, the ball changes. Are you feeling as good as you've ever felt about your game right now?
Oh yeah, probably 100%, and you know, just kind of keep calm and do my thing, and just one shot at a time, and on to the next one.
I love it. Those are good cliches, but they work, right? One at a time, right, Mike? Keep calm.
Rob, great streak, dude. Great bowling. And so we're going to sign you up for Monday nights, right? Next year? You're in.
That's the only night he has free, so
Yep.
yes.
I noticed that a couple weeks ago, so we're in.
Sure.
This envelope feels a little thicker than the other ones that I've handed out over the last couple weeks. I'm sure you deserve it.
Appreciate
Great
it.
bowling.
Thank
and
you.
yeah, you're right about Chuck, man. He's tough. He's a great opponent. So I'm sure we'll see you again next month.
We've seen him 4 months in a row. Why would we not think we're not going to see him next month down in Bradford? Rob, it's been a pleasure watching you develop and grow into one of the best bowlers in Western New York, and I know we're going to keep seeing you. Good stuff, entertaining as heck. We're having fun here at Island Lanes, and we're not done yet. Chuck Jagazinski going to try to win a couple on his own here. We'll have match number 2 when we return to Island Lanes right after this. All right, next up to try to challenge the new hottest guy in town, that would be Chuck Jagazinski, is Andy Moran. And Andy's making his 3rd appearance here on the show. He's a Grand Island regular, but Chuck will start it off. Don't blink or you'll miss it. And you'll miss Chuck making strikes because he does that all the time too. So Andy Moran, 3rd show appearance, has yet to win. Last time we saw him was been a while. We've seen Andy on some of our, particularly last year's exhibition show here at Grand Island, but competition-wise, it's been since Rapids 2016 since we saw Andy Moran.
And we will see him again next week.
That's right. Because he lives on Grand Island, and everyone that lives on Grand Island is eligible for next week's show.
Yes, they are. I think they just draw names out of a hat.
Yes. So we're still trying to wrap our heads around the incredible match that we just saw between Rob and Chuck, and the repercussions that came from it, because maybe at the end you might have noticed a little bit of the end of that match where Chuck sort of looked at Mike Zarcone, who is in the stands here watching, and remarked to him that they are now tied for the most wins at 36 here on Beat the Champ.
Well, what's kind of funny is after watching those two bowl with the ball speed that they have, Andy's ball actually looked like it was rolling slow because of that incredible ball speed that both Chuck and Rocket Rob have. Yeah,
so Andy's got his work cut out for him, obviously. Anytime you bowl against the best, you got to rise to that occasion. So Chuck now up to 36 wins here on Beat the Champ. In our 4 years of competition, only 18 losses. And he and Mike Zarcone are tied at 36. Now Mike is the alternate. He missed making the show by 1 pin. So Mike was going to be here anyway, but I'm sure Mike was here kind of trying to give a little bit of the stink eye over there to Chuck to maintain that top spot.
I think I saw a little interaction between the two of them going on too.
There's another strike for
shot.
Chuck Jagazinski. There's your early glance at the Castellone scoreboard. Boy, that's when you're that good, you get lucky like that, don't you?
Yeah, when they're falling your way, they're falling your way.
Yeah, that there might have been a semi that ran by on the thruway that sent a vibration this way to knock those pins over.
Well, that same shot got him through that first match, so.
That's 2 in a row for Andy Moran. He's got a little bit of the cheering section here.
He does. He's in his home house.
Being a regular who bowls here in the Ken Carter Memorial League here at at Island Lanes. 35 years old, from Niagara Falls. Account manager is the profession for Andy Moran. He has been bowling for about 20 years and really enjoys being a part of the Grand Island Lanes community.
Great shot there.
3 in a row. So now you got to understand that all the bowlers who are going to be part of next week's show, which is all of Mike Mallwitz's regulars here, they're all here now waiting for the show, and they're making a lot of noise cheering on their guy Andy.
That's right.
Just as they will in our next match against Jeff Krywcum, up for the match number 3. Now the question is going to be, will it be Andy versus Jeff where they'll be cheering for both of them, or will it be Chuck versus Jeff?
Well, I know that would be a little bit of a debate, whether they're going to just cheer to cheer or whether they're going to actually pick one. But
spare in the 4th frame for Chuck Jagazinski. Right back to work, frame 5. Whenever Chuck bowls on the show, I always tell the guys, have an episode of Hogan's Heroes ready, because we might not be able to fill any more than a half an hour.
So what's happening for Chuck here is he is setting his ball down in the dry, and he was, but that incredible, he was so amped up, and that's part of why he keeps going at the speed that he is. It keeps his ball speed going. He's really, the adrenaline's flowing. As he calms down, that ball's going to start to bite in that area because it's burned out. So, which is what happened in the last shot, and so Chuck's going to have to make a move here.
So we talked in the last match about rising to the occasion of bowling against a great competitor. So my follow-up question would be, how do you sort of come down from that? How do you control that incredible peak of emotions to kind of get back to your normal level? Not that Andy isn't great and bowling great right now with 4 in a row.
No, but it's not the intensity of a match against someone that's won as many times in this show as Rocket has. But I think that's the toughest thing for a bowler is we've shot. Like when someone shoots a 300. The next game, if you shoot it in the first or second game, the next game is a letdown because your adrenaline is so amped up that the next game's always a letdown. So you do have to watch out for something like that and just keep your ball speed up, I guess, is the only thing I can say.
We've talked about it before, and it certainly doesn't affect his ability to be a good bowler, but the interesting approach by Andy Moran is something that's noticeable. I'm sure it's noticeable to everybody watching.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. I know, I'm sure as soon as you saw him, you remember from the last time you saw him, even if it was a couple years ago, because no one really has that start and stop and then go approach.
And Chuck's struggling a little bit right now, isn't he?
Well, he did, when we talked about the last match where said he was playing the lip, that he was playing right on the gutter, those are dry boards, and you have to get the ball down the lane and keep that ball speed up if you're going to try to play out there.
Yeah, and then we've seen this happen to Chuck before. When things don't go his way, sometimes he gets a little bit down, and then, so it's not only was it an open, but he leaves the 3 pins as he throws a gutter ball. And once again, that's almost exactly the same split leave, isn't it?
It is, because he's way too much in the dry, and in order for him to change, he's going to have to make a real big move. And you're right, he goes so fast that he doesn't even give himself time to process it.
Mm-hmm. So that's back-to-back open frames. I don't know that we've ever seen that, nor will you ever see that again from Chuck Jagazinski. But now Andy Moran, who has struck 5 in a row, clearly in control of this match. Six in a row as Island Lanes continues to explode here.
And look where his ball is rolling over the second arrow. He's right up there, up 10, going towards the pins, and Chuck is playing like 8 boards right of him. And Chuck's gonna have to get in, and Chuck he can do it next frame and get in there and play 10 and do it great, but he's got to get in there and do it.
7 in a row. He spared in the first frame. He has struck the rest of the way as Andy Moran, and I think the look on the face and the body posture of Jagazinski tells you all you need to know.
No, this match is over.
He is an incredible competitor, but he is equally as intense when things don't go well as it is when they do go well.
Well, what's kind of surprising me is that he's just making the same shot over and over again and hasn't done anything drastically to move, but I think he's sort of just, he's given this match up at this point.
Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious. That's pretty obvious. He knows what the results are going to be.
Well, he's mathematically out of it.
And
so.
he's not expending a whole lot of energy here the rest of the way. The energy in this building and on these lanes is coming from Andy Moran, and we're going to stick with it and see if Andy can finish this thing out and post what might be our highest score of the day. So.
Well, on that one, Chuck did make a move in, and the ball never reacted because he'd have to change balls too. So it would have been now we talked about Rocket having a plan. Chuck doesn't seem like he had a plan for the lanes to change. So.
All right, so Andy Moran has won this match, but the drama is not over yet because we want to see how Andy does. You can see the Castellone scoreboard tells you that he's struck 7 frames in a row, and let's see if he can't finish it out with 4 more. And that streak will come to an end, but it will not deprive Andy Moran of a big victory over Chuck Jagazinski, which means Andy gets to advance to our final match of the day with a chance to move on to Billy Lanes in Bradford. But even more than that, he gets to bowl against one of his Grand Island Lanes buddies. We're going to have some fun with the next match. We'll come back, we'll talk to Chuck Jagazinski and get you ready for that match. When we return, more to come here from Island Lanes on Grand Island. Beat the Champ is back right after this. Well, Chuck, I'm not even going to ask you about that match because I know you don't want to talk about it. What I do want to ask you about is the match against Rob Piccoli and just the intensity that everyone could feel in this place. Did you feel it too?
Yeah, I knew almost every shot I got a strike or I'll be walking home, so.
Do you feel like you rose to the occasion of bowling against a guy who had really had it locked in?
Yes, but 10th frame I didn't do that much, but I really didn't have to by then. But if I needed a double, could have went the other way.
Right. And at the end, you had a little message for Mike Zarcone there because you guys are now tied at 36 wins.
Yeah, I tried to rub it in his face.
you know he may get the chance to rub that back in your face, right?
Well, he usually doesn't drive the Billy Lanes, and I do. So I want to get 1 or 2 more down there, so then I'll be ahead of him.
I think you have laid the challenge down, and I would assume there'll be plenty of people to be seen down in Salamanca, right?
Probably.
Or Bradford in this case. Mike?
Chuck, great bowling as always. Yeah. I mean, you are just nonstop. It's so hard to knock you off. But yeah, Andy bowls here.
Yeah,
maybe you should.
Lane dried up, and I moved left, but everyone was left of me, so that was dry already.
But there's a common theme here. The bowlers that still bowl here know what to do when they dry out. So maybe you should think about coming back on Tuesday nights. I'm just saying.
Didn't I bowl here 1 year and beat you for high average?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So why'd you leave?
Right.
Too late. I gotta get up early in the morning.
You violated the first rule of Beat the Champ is you're not supposed to ask Chuck about bad matches. We all learned that. Hopefully you will learn that too. So, Chuck, good stuff as always. Always great to have you on the show. But we got a Battle of Grand Island coming up for our final match. After Mike gives him some money, we got a Battle of Grand Island. It's going to be fun. It's coming up next on Beat the Champ. Well, a couple of Island Lanes buddies and Island castaways here going to battle it out in our last match. Andy Moran and Jeff Krywcum, 2 regular bowlers here at Island Lanes, guys who pretty much just kind of live at this place and have a lot of success here. This is a neat little bragging rights showdown.
Who's going to get the harder claps here, Mike?
Actually, both set of parents are here, so I'm not sure.
So that is the voice of Mike Mallwitz, the proprietor here at Island Lanes, who is going to join us for this match because he's the guy who knows these two best.
Hit reverse arrows.
Well, so we got to get the scorekeeping going first.
Oh, bad pin collision. Well, I think this is a good opportunity to mention these Eagles.
We're going to ask Mike about it because you can see the Eagles here. You see this incredible watch here, and this is all tied to something that Jeff Krywcum did with his brother Mike. And you can fill everybody in on that, Mike. And if they haven't noticed, Jeff's name is hanging just above lanes 7 and 8 here for good reason.
Yep, for the last month we've watched that banner, and we really haven't talked about it much, but we were waiting for this show. That was one of the coolest moments in my bowling life, and it had nothing to do with me bowling. Just watching them two win an Eagle was amazing. So amazing.
So this happened in Syracuse last year, correct? Or earlier? Was it earlier this year at the Nationals? Right? Is that the event here?
It was the year before.
The year before.
2018.
Okay.
2018.
Gotcha. So fill everybody in on what Jeff and Mike were able to accomplish there.
Basically, the goal of all competitive bowlers in life, right? Would you agree, Sue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, winning an Eagle is the most prized thing. Even, like, PBA bowlers, they win PBA titles, and they still want to win an Eagle. An Eagle is the most coveted thing there is, and to watch it happen live...
So tell everybody what an Eagle is. It is a title at the Open Championship.
The USBC Open Championship. Zoom in on that, because it's really cool.
Hold on, we're coming. We're going to watch Andy's shot first. There it is. That is pretty cool, isn't it?
And not only that, but to do it, twin brothers. Michael and Jeff Krywcum are twins. As hard as it is to believe.
I remember when they were born.
They are twins. So twin brothers win an Eagle together at the USBC Open. Unbelievable, the coolest thing ever.
Right.
And I got to see it firsthand.
And it was part of a doubles competition, right?
Yeah,
so those
doubles.
guys teamed up for obvious reasons, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Because they have the same DNA.
Well, sure, of course. So those are on display here. Now, normally, do Jeff and Mike have those in their houses or like at home or?
Yeah, they brought that in.
They brought them in today for the show. Yeah.
Great. Now, and the banner. When did the banner go up, and how long does the banner stay up?
The banner is going to stay up here forever.
Yep.
They donated it to us, and I said I'm going to hang that, and it's going to stay.
Good.
So that's going to be up forever. The banner got delivered to them, I would say maybe a month or two ago. Mm-hmm. The Eagles came late last year, and it's just like I said, it was the neatest thing ever.
So
Funny.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
When you win an award at the national champions, they hang your banner the next year. So that hung all last year at the stadium, the 2019 stadium.
For 6 months during the entire tournament.
During the entire
stadium in Reno.
It was in Syracuse last year.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
So then when they take it down, then you can ask for it if you'd like, because ours is over at the Edge. When we won the women's championship, they asked for it over there at the Edge, and Sue got it over there.
You have to ask for your banner.
You're right.
Your name's on a USBC Open Championship banner. You have to ask.
Of course, if you weren't going to put it up here, they needed to put it up in their living room.
Yeah. Well, it's actually huge, and we had to tuck it under because there's about 4 feet more underneath.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they're giant.
It's super huge. But it was just really neat. And Paul, the funny story is, I was bowling on the pair next to them while this was happening. I didn't know until the 10th frame of the last game that they had a shot at it. And I'm like, wait, get out of here. Like, really? You have a shot at taking the lead? And I mean, it wasn't the last day of the tournament, so there's still people to bowl after.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you guys have explained this before, you post that score, but the tournament continues, so you don't know, even though you know you may have beaten the score from before, you don't know whether that's ever going to be good enough until the whole thing is over.
Yeah, until, like, you got to sweat it out.
So how long did they have to wait?
We go May, end of May. right?
Right.
End of May, so you got to wait about a month and a week or two.
Yeah, it's the end of June, right?
Yeah.
So that must be an interesting month of waiting to see whether you're going to get all this swag.
And trust me, Jeff Krywcum is a stat know-it-all. Like, he knows everything by the minute. Like, every day he is checking.
Could he go online every day and check the
you go
scores?
online and you check it. And
You check the squads.
He knew who was bowling when, and so he knew where to check. He was watching live scoring. It was awesome. It was a fun time.
That's amazing. That's good stuff. That's great stuff. And again, it doesn't. As good as we are here in Western New York, that doesn't happen all that often. The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
I would call this a little unfair because these two guys are also bowling next week in the Mallwitz Lanes Team Championship, and they get practice on these lanes. This is, I call shenanigans.
Well, and the winner of this is going to have to venture out of their comfort zone all the way to Bradford, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the winner of this has to go to Bradford, so.
Because that's where we're headed in 2 weeks. Next week's show is the Island Lanes Team Championship that Mike alluded to. And if you've watched that before, it is absolutely must-see bowling television to see all the maniacs here from Island Lanes go at each other. And then in 2 weeks, the whole gang heads down to the Southern Tier to Billy Lanes in Bradford for the next series of competition.
I got to give a little shout out here to Josh Nowak, owner of 10 in the Pit Pro Shop. He just moved to Brad Angelo Lanes. But he kind of named us the Animal House. And when he said that, I loved it. I thought it was a great nickname, so I embrace it. So Josh will be here. I think he's in the final next week's show.
So it's the Animal House Championship next week. Then.
I dig it.
You need to the winners need to get T-shirts that say bowling on it, in the fine tradition of Bluto Blutarski.
Yeah, and just have Belushi on it.
Right.
With bowling.
Right. All right, that's a little difficult challenge here for Andy Moran in the 6th frame. Let's see what he can do with this one. Yeah, and he can't do much of anything. That's second open for Andy in this match.
Yeah, that's trouble with all those strikes that Jeff is posting.
Yep. So it's been a pretty unbelievable show here for our 150th competition show that started off with one of the best matches we've ever had between Rob Piccoli and Chuck Jagazinski, and then Andy with an unlikely upset victory over Chuck, and then now we've got these two Grand Island buddies going at each other in our final match of the day. So this has been a lot of fun to wrap up what's been 3 great weeks here at Grand Island, and will only get better next week.
Now, I remember correctly, when we first started this show, he was pretty much a new bowler, right? Wasn't he just, was Andy?
No, he's been bowling his whole
Yeah.
life. Like,
At that level?
kind of, yeah.
Okay, I thought that he was.
He just never really bowled tournaments and stuff.
Advancing at a quick pace at that point.
And
Well, once we
another
started to Beat the Champ, he started to bowl that more and went to a couple tournaments with me.
And he
and
looks
stuff like
really
that.
good.
Yeah. Oh, he's come a long way. I mean, he was good 10 years ago, and now he's really good.
Yep. Another strike for Jeff Krywcum, the 30-year-old from Buffalo, who is, I think, run 5 in a row here, if my count is right.
That is correct.
Jeff, on the other hand, has come from a bowling family, so he's
Right.
been around bowling.
Boy, you can't get rid of Jeff even if you tried. He's here Mondays, Thursdays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, right?
And he's here Wednesdays just to eat our dinner special, and
Of course.
Saturdays to hang out. And
Of course.
Yeah.
That's
Sundays
okay.
to watch football.
Sundays to watch football.
That's okay.
7 day a weeker.
And that's what's so great about Island Lanes and so much fun about it being a part of the fabric of Grand Island, and that's a credit to you and your dad and your family for making that happen.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much.
I think this is, as much as many of the bowling centers that we go to are parts of their community, I'm not sure that any is to the extreme that yours is here. And I get Grand Island has its own vibe, right? Once you cross those bridges, it's different, isn't it?
It definitely is. And like Grand Island is its own vibe, but I think I would see us doing the same thing no matter what town we were in, you know? Anybody that comes in and asks for a donation for the Junior Vikings or, you know, this fundraiser, that fundraiser, we're always willing to help. And I don't know, it just give back to the community, they give back to you, and it's all good.
Right. You spent your whole life here, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Well, that's part of it too.
My dad purchased this bowling center the year I was born.
Wow.
So, like, their friends would tell me stories about me riding a big wheel around when I was like 3 years old. I don't even remember it. But yeah, that's...
See, I think of that you basically had your whole future laid out for you the year you were born.
Pretty
right?
much,
You may not have known it at the time, but eventually you did.
As long as I was down with it, yeah, pretty much. And I'm super down with it.
Yeah. No, and again, Mike has played a big role in Beat the Champ coming back on the air and the success we've had with the show too. So, to your credit, you see the big picture of what this sport means to this community, not just here at your place, but what it means beyond this place as well.
Oh, absolutely. I get it all the time. I could be in West Seneca and I get a random guy coming up to me at a store saying, "Hey, you're Mike. You're Mike Mallwitz. You're from Beat the Champ." Like, and I haven't been on the show in months, and they still recognize me, and it's just so cool how many people watch the show, and
it is.
We love the people that watch the show, and just bowling is such a big part of Western New York, and I'm so glad that we could bring it back, like the TV show.
Yep, well, like we said, we are certainly too. We've had a lot of fun with this, and the fun just keeps rolling itself on when you get great bowlers and great matches like we have had for most of this month here at Grand Island, and particularly to start this show off. Well, Andy's the wheels have come off a little bit for Andy as we were talking here, and Jeff has been taking advantage of it, and it looks like Jeff is on his way to a win here, which means it's going to be Jeff Krywcum who is going to advance on to Billy Lanes in Bradford in 2 weeks. But first, he's got some work to do on next week's show as well, too. So Jeff Krywcum going to finish off this spare right like that, and is going to celebrate himself a victory. We'll come back and we'll wrap up a great week here on Grand Island and get you ready for what should be a fun team championship next week when we all return. More Beat the Champ right after this. .233 to 149. Jeff Krywcum with the win over Andy Moran. I'm going to invoke the Jagazinski rule, which is not ask you about a match like that. So let me ask you about your win over Chuck Jagazinski. Were there nerves? Was there any intimidation? I mean, Chuck had just had this incredible victory over Rob Piccoli, and then here you come rolling in.
I'll tell you, there's always nerves whenever you're in an unfamiliar environment, but, it's bowling. Been doing it since I was 12, so just kind of adjust to your environment.
Yeah, and this is far from unfamiliar for you, so was there some confidence because you know this place probably better than anybody?
I always feel good when I walk through the doors of Mallwitz Island Lane, so I'm always confident.
There you go. Put that in your next TV commercial, right?
Yeah, you're my boy, Andy.
Yeah. Give him a little money, will you?
Yeah. Here's some cash. That'll be good.
Appreciate it.
And I mean, no offense, but you don't have to drive to Billy Lanes in Redford. We love Billy Lanes. I was there. It's a great place. But Jeff Krywcum can take the drive for you.
I'll give him some gas money.
Well, that was like the Island Lanes singles match before the Island Lanes Baker match next week. But were the lanes similar to what you're used to?
For me, yeah, pretty much. I'm just straight and down pretty much, so just little in. That's what it was.
Yep, well, there's some big scores out here today, and no matter how the lanes change, they don't seem to be getting any lower, so you need every pin of that.
Oh, yeah. Especially against Andy. I bowl against him on Monday nights. I know he's capable of putting up any score, so just had to keep going.
All right, well, now you've got to take that long ride they're joking about to Bradford, but at least you come in as the champ, right?
Oh, yeah. Gonna make it, see what goes on there. Never been there before, so first time there.
All right, well, good for you, and I know you got to get ready for the next match because you are coming back to bowl Baker, right?
Oh, yeah. It's a fun time.
All right.
It's always a good show.
we're looking forward to it, aren't we?
I think you should rent like a Grand Island party bus and take Jeff down there to Billy Lane's.
It's actually not a bad idea. Everybody, do yourselves a favor. First of all, congrats to Eagle winner, Jeff Krywcum. YouTube, Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son. Just watch the music video. I'm not going to say anything more. And we'll talk later.
You double as the bass player? Is that what you're telling me?
Just watch it.
Okay, just watch it. All right, well, then you got your homework to do. So do that, and then come back in time for Sue and I to wrap up the show, because that's what we're going to do next. Well, I think the big picture, Sue, of what we've seen here the last 3 weeks is incredible scoring. I would say roughly the winners of our 9 matches probably averaged about 230 in winning.
Maybe even higher. We had all those 260s, 250s, and you don't come in here and expect that you're going to have to shoot 250 or 260 to win, but that's really what it was all about.
Yeah, and we saw some great matches. We had a great run by Rob Piccoli, that incredible match between Rob and Chuck Jagazinski, and then the Grand Island guys took over a little bit, and it's going to be Jeff Krywcum who will make that drive to Bradford.
It's kind of funny how that turned out, that after all that great bowling and all the great matches that we had, that the Island guys prevailed at the end.
Yep.
And end up being matches against them to preview the matches we're going to see against them next week.
Yeah, so speaking of that, we are not done here yet at Grand Island, and I know we all can't wait for it. Not only so sure that you are as excited about the Island Lanes Team Championship as we are.
No, I mean, it is exciting. It's always crazy. That's all.
It's crazy.
It's hard to keep track of everybody, but if I can do it, you can do it. So Stay tuned for next week.
Yeah, so as Mike Mallwitz says, they don't call this the Animal House for nothing. Make sure you're with us when we'll have a party and the Island Lanes Team Championship. That's next week on Beat the Champ.